Thank you for joining us, King Thandisizwe. So this controversy, we've seen a number of statements coming from you and the Queen, the presidential spokesperson, Kusela Diko, about your company's involvement, Royal Baca. All of this that has come through from the revelations of the last few days, do you still insist that you did absolutely nothing wrong legally and morally?
Yes, thank you. I think, first of all, let's appreciate the opportunity. I am not Thandisizwe II. I'm Madzikane II, Thandisizwe Diko.
Sure, my apologies for that. It does seem that we did get the titles wrong, and full apologies from our side, taking responsibility for that. But do you believe that you did absolutely nothing wrong legally, both legally and morally?
Yeah, I'm going to come to that. I think it should be registered, though, once again, just for consistency, that one has noted the decision of the PEC against people who never had anything to do with my business. But maybe it's going to give them, it must be welcome, and it's going to give them an opportunity to clean their names. It's unfortunate, but yeah, it is what it is right now. So I will respect that. Now, let me answer these two questions. Do I still believe that it was moral? Yes, I do believe that it was moral to get into business. But in consideration of the position of my wife, where she is, and what could be perceived as the conflict of interest, we have to reconsider that. But it was moral.
How do you reconcile your insistence that it was moral for you to get involved in business, a government business, by the way, doing business with the state, when your wife, the presidential spokesperson, is an employee of that very same state, a senior employee at that? How do you reconcile what you just said now with you saying in your latest statement that there was an error of judgment? So where was the error in judgment then, if what you are saying is true, that it was all moral?
You see, the first thing is that my wife is employed with the state. I am not. And this is a business. But in areas where there could be perceived conflict of interest, there's nothing wrong in reconsidering that.
King Madzikane, I think, the point that I want to make here in terms of, what my colleague has just asked you is that by virtue of your close proximity to Ms. Kusela Diko, there would be a call for concern, I understand, from many South Africans as to how this PPE business deal came about. So for you to have an opportunity to clarify, kindly take us through what then the process was in acquiring this business deal from the Gauteng Health Department, because from what we're hearing from the ANC's Jacob Kawe, allegedly there were calls being made to businesses to provide this PPE, to have this business deal. So this gives then the impression that there wasn't necessarily due diligence and proper procedures followed, to tender or to bid for this particular PPE business deal.
I think number one, clear the point that yes, I still do believe that there's nothing illegal that was done. Number two, I didn't get a call. Royal Baca didn't get a call. My wife got a call from anyone that tender quotations must be submitted and all those kind of things. So. I don't know about others, but I can only speak for Royal Baca. There was no call that was made to Royal Baca that Royal Baca must submit any quotation. It's a perception that's been created out there. Unfortunately, I think this company for whatever reason, I don't know. Many companies that submitted, but at least this one did not get any call. So I don't know where that perception comes from. Yeah, I hope I'm answering your question.
All right.
There was no call.
So you're saying that there was no call made to you by anyone within the Gauteng department to offer the Royal Baca projects this particular business deal. But then consequently to that, we understand that the deal then was cancelled. Why was the deal cancelled? And had you already provided the service, the PPE, prior to the business deal being cancelled by the Royal Baca, according to your statement?
That's correct, ma'am. The Royal Baca followed the process through the SCM department and started delivering. And on a reconsideration, after my wife had, I think a couple of times, had tried to convince me that, look, it could be a perceived conflict of interest. Then I requested the department to cancel it. And indeed, later on, the contract was cancelled. And the reason why we had to reconsider, it is obviously because of the fact that she works for the state, even though I don't think that that's illegal. And that's why, in the first place, I decided to carry on until she had to talk me out of it.
Yeah, let me suggest then that you exercised poor judgment on your side. I don't see how you didn't see the potential conflict of interest or even perceived conflict of interest. The very fact that the president, who is the boss, your wife's boss, said in Parliament that he then said to his family that now that I hold this position in government, no more doing business with the state for everyone in this family. That should have been a signal. But nonetheless, let's take it a step further. Can you confirm that you and Loyiso Masuku, the MMC in Johannesburg, who also happens to be the wife of the MEC of Health, Bandile Masuku, are business partners in as far as the CIPC records are concerned?
Okay, but I would like to just speak to this issue that, yes, I think we have accepted that, yes, there may have been poor judgment on my side, right? And I accept that. And I think I have maybe apologize for it. I should have seen it coming. It is unfair, though, that those that seem to be close to political power, they cannot do business. Right? My wife is not in business. I'm in business. But let me answer your question. Yes, I confirm that there's a company that we had set up with the wife of the MEC, right? Which its objectives was to serve the community, right? It was to run development projects in the community that where we come from. But that company was registered before she became the MMC, and before the MEC became the MEC. And that company never traded. And that company has got nothing to do with what is happening right now, what is trending in the media.
And yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, Madzikane, in terms of this particular business that you are business partners with the MMC, Loyiso Masuku, as well as the Royal Baca project, which I understand is a different business entity. Can you place it on record whether or not both businesses have ever received any funding or money from the state? including the 125 million rand, with which is the reason we're having this conversation today around the PPE that was meant to be supplied in Gauteng. Was that money ever deposited into the AmaBhaca project's account, or any other money that you have perhaps ever, whether or not, received from government?
Right. Now let's talk about the first company. I said that company was registered. It doesn't even have a bank account. It didn't take off. And now let's talk about AmaBhaca. AmaBhaca has never received a cent from the state, in spite of it having delivered, right? Simply for the reasons I have stated around our reconsideration of what could be perceived as a conflict of interest. So there's no 125 million that has been paid to AmaBhaca.
Do you want that money? Do you want to be paid? Because you have delivered a service, and I don't imagine that you are a charity organization.
Well, look, if we are to assist the state and during COVID, maybe that's fine. But obviously, I think naturally, any business would have wanted to pay, because in the first place, that's why you got into business. But then the circumstances, and I do believe that in hindsight, that was it was not a bad decision not to want that money, because right now people are going around saying that we got money.
All right, King Madzikane, there seems to be another call coming in there from your Skype. I wonder if you are able to just quickly mute that for us, because you're answering a key question, and we would want you to have the benefit of fully articulating what you are saying. So what you are trying to say is being drowned out by this other call that's coming in. Let's give it another try.
Yeah, that call is not, I can't even see it.
No, it's fine. Please go ahead. It seems we've sorted it out from our side.
I don't know where
you were talking about whether or not you are still expecting to be paid, and I had suggested to you that it's 125 million rand that's at stake, and you are saying you've already delivered in terms of the contract, which establishes the contract because one of the parties has performed in terms of that particular contract. So, no dilly-dallying. There has been a contract. Do you now expect the other party to perform in terms of this contract by paying you, the other party being government?
Look, I think some of it will have to leave it to the department. And what I said to you, I was saying, naturally, you would have wanted to be paid. But if then the circumstances, they dictate that maybe you should pull out. That's exactly what we did, and therefore we're not expecting the department as the AmaBhaca to, if then it's going to give oxygen to a conflict of interest, because the reason why we pulled out of the contract is because we thought there would be a perceived potential conflict of interest, and this is what we're seeing now. And I think that was a good decision that the company took after taking advice, So it's up to the department or government, and it's also up to, and I'm sure they will apply their minds into it. We have declared that there could be potential conflict of interest as a company by association, and if they pay, they pay, but we're not demanding that money from them. But I do believe that we need to address this thing, that it's important that there's nothing wrong in doing business. And I'm talking about conflict of interest. There's nothing wrong in doing business simply because family members are close to, or because of proximity to power.
King, I just want to make mention, due to time, because we are indeed running out of time, but I have to squeeze in this question to you. It's slightly unrelated, but still within the realm of what we're talking about. I understand that you also sit on a number of boards. You are a board member. You were saying even in your statement that until recently you were the chief executive officer of the Alfred Nzo Development Agency. You've served in numerous boards, amongst them being the Ingwe TVET College. Due to what has transpired now around this scandal and the allegations of, possible irregularity in the procurement of PPE surrounding this particular 125 million rand, which is still under investigation, have you resigned from any boards that you do serve or have served, and what could be the reason for that decision, if you have?
But first of all, there's a perceived scandal here. Unfortunately, it is centered around one company amongst 90, and one asks a question, that it has to be centered around one company. Yeah? So there's an agenda there that we need to look at.
Well, I can answer that, King Madzikane. It's because that one company out of the 90, you're absolutely right. In fact, the SIU now telling us that it has moved to around 102 thereabout in terms of the companies being investigated. That one company is linked to the spokesperson who serves, linked in the sense that, it's owned by the husband of the spokesperson who serves in the highest office in the land. And from many judgments, we know about how important that the office of the president is held to a higher standard. That's why the focus is on your company.
Okay, let me respect that. Let me answer that question now. I can't remember what you asked.
The question was around some of the organizations which you serve as a board member. Have you resigned out of any of the boards?
I'm not the chief executive officer of any company, just to clarify that I used to be. And yes, I do serve in the boards, and I've resigned from one board.
Why did you resign?
I resigned because of this perceived conflict of interest, and it's based solely on the relationship that we have accepted, that we have with the Masuku. I didn't want to compromise the MNC of Global, which I am registered in one of the companies with the end.
All right. King Madzikane, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and you giving us your side and perspective in as far as these controversies are concerned. That's King Madzikane II of the Royal Baca household, talking to us about all these controversies.